Greetings, knowledgeable acolytes, and welcome back to our archives. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different than we would normally do. The sequel trilogy has been out for several years now, and the wounds inflicted by the trilogy's repeated canon fractures are still being felt from it. Though despite this fact, ranting any more about the sequels at this point may be beating a dead horse. However, something the other day just gouged my ire while I was contemplating on it. In The Rise of Skywalker, particularly in the scene where Rey and the gang are trying to save what they think is Chewbacca in a First Order transport, Rey begins attempting to pull the ship down when Kylo Ren shows up and attempts to bring the ship down towards him instead. Then, all of a sudden, Rey, feeling enraged by Kylo Ren during their Force struggle, accidentally uses Force lightning. I couldn't simply ignore the phenomenon and had to make a video on it, as the dark side is something that is grossly misunderstood, especially in Star Wars canon and the sequels. I want to go ahead and make it known that this will not be a rant video about how poorly done the sequel movies were, as that has been done and overstated. Rather, I want to break down exactly why it doesn't make sense for anyone, regardless of circumstance, to use an ability like Force lightning on pure accident. So, sit with us today, wise mystics of the Force, as we deconstruct this egregious misuse of the dark side and Force lightning. Let's begin about talking about Force lightning as a concept and establish a baseline for the ability. Force lightning is one of the purest dark side abilities that can be employed. The idea is to use the dark side against one's target to inflict as much pain as possible. In order to do so, you must fully reject all passion and have nothing but the utmost of hatred for your target, pouring all of your rage and loathing into the Force in such a way that it produces a physical manifestation of the dark side in the form of electricity, making the Force itself physical. To put this in a sentence, it is literally hating someone to death. Force lightning is considered to be a staple Sith ability used by those who have fully committed to the dark side. Training for Force lightning is specific and requires much sacrifice in order to wield. To better illustrate it, here's a quote from the Darth Plagueis novel concerning the matter. Force lightning requires strength of a sort only a Sith can command, because we accept consequence and reject compassion. To do so requires a thirst for power that is not easily satisfied. The Force tries to resist the callings of ravenous spirits. Therefore, it must be broken and made a beast of burden. It must be made to answer one's will. But the Force cannot be treated differentially. In order to summon and use lightning properly, you will someday have to be on the receiving end of its power, as a means of taking the energy inside yourself. In the Darth Bane novel Path of Destruction, we get a detailed look on the inside of the Sith Lord Academy on Korriban. During Lord Khan's Brotherhood of Darkness, they had 3 training academies across the galaxy where they sent new Sith acolytes. One academy was for Sith marauders, another for Sith assassins, but the best of the best, and those with real promise, they were sent to the Sith Lord Academy. During Bane's time in the academy, there came a time when the students were to learn Force lightning. On their first time, some students were barely able to conjure a few sparks, or even a thin string of electricity. However, on Bane's first time, he was able to conjure an entire Force storm. We'll get into why this is so important in just a moment when we discuss Rey's heritage. For now, the point I'm making with these is was a seasoned Force sensitive, some were former Jedi, and other had been training at this academy on Korriban for quite a while. They were all very well versed with the Force and even more familiar with the dark side, and even then they struggled with creating a modicum of electricity. Force lightning is an exceptionally difficult and complex maneuver, which is why it cannot be possibly achieved by oneself. So you see, there are 3 particular requirements for one to be able to even conjure Force lightning at all. Firstly, you have to have received Force lightning at some point as a means of taking the energy inside of yourself and fully understanding exactly what you intend to inflict. Never once did Rey ever get hit with this ability, not even by Snoke. But of course, this is more of a Legends continuity thing. Secondly, you have to have been trained in this ability by a guiding hand, someone who understands and can walk through this process. At most, Rey only learned telekinesis from what I'm being generous calling training from Luke. And lastly, probably most importantly of all of these, you have to have done this with purpose. Accidentally using Force lightning is not a thing and goes against the ability altogether. It is easy for a powerful Force sensitive to lash out in anger, yes, and destructive things can come from it, true, but Force lightning demands purpose, sacrifice, and above all, intention. You must truly hate the person you are using this against and be purposefully wishing to cause them pain. That is what Force Lightning is. You can say that she was looking at Kylo Ren and hating him in this moment. Maybe she did want to cause him pain, and maybe she did truly loathe him with every sense of the word. But while emotions were focused on Kylo, her Force ability was focused on the ship. Force Lightning is not going to just spring out like a belch while one is trying something else, such as using telekinesis. Force Lightning and telekinesis have very different feelings and energies within the Force and one's body itself. For now though, let's play a little devil's advocate, as I know that there are many who have been wondering the exact same thing this entire time. But Rey is a Palpatine, Darth Sidious's very granddaughter. Surely her heritage will give her this ability to easily use Force Lightning, as Sidious is undisputed as the master of this ability. Yes, this part is in fact partially true. The Force has been known to carry certain aptitudes down through bloodlines and certain affinities to carry over hereditarily. However, notice that I said aptitude, not ability. Here's the thing about Force abilities and bloodlines. One can inherit the aptitude for learning certain abilities from their parents, but that does not mean that they can instantly just use it without any problems. It simply means that they'll have a much easier time learning it. Let's take the pin out of the conversation we had a moment ago regarding how Darth Bane was able to easily conjure a Force storm the first time he attempted the ability. Darth Bane was incredibly powerful in the Force with more than a few chips on his shoulder. His ability to command the dark side was unlike any other, and when he got his mojo back, he became even stronger than before, but realized that Bane still had training. He still had to at least learn the material before he could do what he did. Okay though, but Bane also used a highly advanced ability when he was untrained and got angry. This is also true. Darth Bane killed his father by hating him so vividly that he crushed his heart by accident. Well, was this actually an accident? Let's talk about this further. Bane lashed out with the Force one night after receiving an especially cruel beating from his father. He lied awake in his bed, unable to sleep due to how much he was hurting. As he lay, throbbing and crying, his mind kept repeating only one thing: I hope you die, I hope you die. He thought about his father and imagined a hand slowly squeezing around his father's heart. He kept repeating that until his father did actually die. Bane unintentionally killed his father through the Force while he was sleeping. So is this the same thing that happened with Rey? No. And I'll tell you why. Lashing out with the Force in anger has been heard of, as we said before, but it all boils down to the intention thing again. Bane killed his father because he was actively in severe pain by the beating. The culmination from all of his years of abuse was manifesting at his rage, as it reached incredibly new heights to where it was affecting the Force itself. Bane used an advanced telekinesis technique to crush his father's heart, because Darth Bane wanted it to happen. He wanted his father to die, but he felt powerless to make it happen. At this moment, he made himself attractive to the dark side, and the dark side claimed him, granting his father's death in return. But again, Bane did not use Force Lightning here, despite the fact that it seemed he was highly proficient with it. He didn't accidentally summon a storm of lightning and disintegrate his father in his sleep. Alright, fine, but what about Count Dooku? In Dooku Jedi Lost, a canon novel, Dooku uses Force Lightning twice as a Jedi. Once when he was a child against his captors, and once when he was a master to save Qui-Gon Jinn from a bounty hunter. Yes, Dooku did, but did he really? We are today talking about Force Lightning in the term of Sith Lightning, the kind that Rey used to utterly destroy the transport ship. Did Dooku truly use Sith Lightning, or did he use Force Judgment? Let's talk about this. Force Judgment is the Jedi variant of Sith Lightning, which produces a light side form of electricity against a target. However, the difference is that Force Judgment is a non-lethal form that is painful, but is mostly used to stun a target. It was made popular by Plo Koon, but existed far before him, as Plagueis actually makes mention of it. Plagueis says this: a Jedi sufficiently strong in the Force can be trained to produce a facsimile, but not true Sith Lightning, which, unabated, has the power not only to incapacitate or kill, but to physically transform the victim. Even Plagueis acknowledged Force Judgment's legitimacy, but did say that it wasn't true Sith Force Lightning. In order to conjure Force Judgment, a Jedi must use their feelings of righteous justice and a sense of desiring to bring about a proper and lawful judgment, and therefore they would be able to use the ability. I also deduced that it may require a Jedi to be born with the aptitude for Force Lightning. Both times Dooku used Force Lightning as a Jedi were both for noble reasons, and again, he did so with intention. He meant to use these Force abilities. When he was a child, he did end up killing his captors with the ability, so Force Judgment is a slippery slope that can easily lull you into feelings of righteous rage, and then pure hatred, which is what happened with Dooku. This is why judgment is only taught to specific Jedi. I'm sure that there are quite a few different questions to ask and threads to explore on this topic, but I believe I have stated my case pretty well. I make this video because I believe that these things about the lore matter, and Rey using Sith lightning by accident doesn't really make any sense at all. I believe that having these rules about how the dark and light side of the Force should work is unquestionably paramount. I'm not going to say that Star Wars is a stranger to plot convenience, but what I am going to say is that the Force makes sense until one writer breaks the rules. It is a mysterious entity that acts in strange ways, but it has methods and rules, and these rules do or should matter. Tell me what you think about this down below, and if you think that Rey using Force lightning the way that she did makes sense, then explain your thought. Again, I understand that the explanation for canon and Force lightning may be different, but the fact that they appear to be doing this with characters now accidentally using Force lightning is quite perplexing. I by no means hate the sequel trilogy entirely, but I do believe that these things are worth talking about. I hope you all enjoyed this different type of video, being an opinion piece, despite it being a bit different than what we normally do. And as always, may the Force be with you, and go in peace.
Just let me fall to my